back to my channel. Today we're going to do something a bit different. As I said, I'm not going to concentrate only on models and cars, but I'm going to do some other useful things as well. And what I'm going to talk about today is about multi-tools, especially Leathermans. I am a big fan of those. I remember since I was a kid, my dad used to have one or a couple of them. They served for a really long time. And nowadays, or recently came the day when I said, okay, I should get one as well. I know a lot of kids nowadays have them as well, but for me, it's really a matter of use because those are quite expensive, and I thought that I would need it really when I need it, so not to spend money on something that I'm not gonna carry on me, because it's not a very comfortable thing to carry. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm sure that there are a lot of videos like that around, but I want to try to maybe talk about choosing your Leatherman, especially from the point of view of full-size, cheaper to mid-range priced ones. The reason why I want to talk about it is because when I was looking for one for me, I was quite literally keeping myself awake on YouTube, trying to find good videos explaining what are the benefits of one over the other. Of course, the best one would be just to go out there and check one in your hands, but living in Europe, in certain areas, you don't really get them that much here because they're not that popular everywhere. So it was a bit difficult, and I was relying more on actually those videos and photos and reviews, and if I wanted to get one to play with it in my hands, I would have to order it from the shop, so they would bring it, and then I could take it out from the box and check it out. And I didn't want to do it because it will involve probably also me eventually buying it for a much more expensive price than I could get it somewhere else. So let's cut to the chase here. I will start from the end. What I ended up getting is the Leatherman Wave. And I will get to that why in the end, but I would just say this: buying a multi-tool made by Leatherman is not a cheap thing to do. It's quite an expensive tool, or in some cases a toy, and you need to buy it for your purpose, and that's why the best thing here is to define your purpose. Nowadays, Leatherman produces, we're talking about, what are we now? We're in June 2017. Leatherman sales nowadays, from the perspective of full-size, mid-range, and cheap multi-tools, the Rev, the Wingman, the Sidekick, and the Rebar, and then we get to the Wave, which is in a more expensive mid-range category. Which is very similar in what it offers from the more expensive multi-tools, as the Charge, for example, but it's made of a bit less expensive materials, which is basically stainless steel compared to titanium or better grade steel. Now, functionality-wise, here is really important to figure out what you need, right? So first of all, if you're buying one of those, so of course the first thing you want to have is, or your main thing is, of course, the pliers. Now, the pliers on the Wave are not with the replaceable parts, as you can see them nowadays in the Rebar or in the more expensive categories, but then it depends on you, what is your usage. I use the pliers. I'm not planning on using them in a very aggressive manner. My job, I'm dealing with horses, and I'm using them for kind of like light use. But it's up to you, really. The second thing that for me is really important on those multi-tools is, of course, the blade. I don't carry a blade on me. In some countries in Europe, it's also not allowed to carry a blade on you, unlike in the United States, for example, when you can in places. So for me, a blade is important. Especially, I need a regular blade, for normal tasks of cutting and so on, and I need a serrated blade. You can get them on some of the models in a combined manner, as a wingman. For me, it would work as well. So they are blades. Other things you can find on the outside of the wave is the file over here, and also we should have somewhere here the saw. Honestly, I'm not using those. It's not very important for me. Not doing that much woodwork, and the saw is also not very a useful feature for me. So mainly from the outside, I will use the blades. And important to say here, the blades are of course locking with this linear lock over here. So then you press and you close it. So those are the two tools I need the most. Then, as I said, the pliers as well. So this is the third one, and then I need screwdrivers. And this is the tricky part here. The Wave has replaceable bits, so you can actually take this out, buy the set, and have with you different kinds of screwdrivers. Of course, it will be better to have it home. If you're at home, you can have a normal set of drivers, and then you don't need this. But this is aimed more for outdoor work or when you're in the need of something and you don't have it around you. Yeah, and of course all of this is locking, and I'll get to this lock in a minute. The Wave also has a set of smaller drivers. Yeah, of course you can see here the scissors, which is also a very important feature for me. And let me get to the small driver, and you can see here this smaller driver for example if you need to work on glasses and stuff like that. As I said, also here we have these scissors, which are very important for me as well. And the last thing is a flathead or a prey tool that you can open up cans and whatever, of paint. On the other side, I didn't show you the last tool. There is also a can opener and a wire stripper, which are basically in the same tool. Now, what is important for me here compared to the other tools? So, if you look at the cheaper side of the range, the Rev, the Rev, the Wingman, and the Sidekick. The thing is, those are coming with just, I think, couple of flatheads and one standard Phillips. Now, I don't know about you, but this was for me probably the rejecting point, because I don't see a point in having those tools not, when you're not able to replace the heads or the bits, because you're not going to have always the same size of screwdrivers, right? And that's the problem. Then you are stuck, you cannot do anything with that. And this is the problem. You can buy them. They're cheaper, much cheaper probably than this, and you will get some of those tools. But for example, I haven't used a flathead in a few years now. I haven't seen really a long time now. I haven't used a flathead, and I don't see a purpose of actually having one, because I don't see the benefit if you can have a Phillips. So I don't see any point of buying that, and having two of those seems to be really not useful. The second thing is the locking mechanism. The Sidekick, the Wingman, the Rev don't have the locking mechanism, which is quite literally one of the signature things about the Leatherman tools. This is preventing from closing on your fingers. I know that they have this spring-loaded mechanism, or so that basically holds it, or the spring holders, but one day it will get softer and it will fail, and then somebody is going to get their fingers damaged, and I don't think that's a useful feature. I think that's a big minus. Plus, when you take went to play on with the Wingman and the Sidekick, and they're quite flimsy compared to this. This is really solid, like it doesn't move anywhere. The other ones just move around, wobble, feels very, very let's say the quality is not there. And for me, Leatherman stands for quality, and this is what I look for. So if you compare also the tools, well, honestly, I wouldn't buy the Rev. I think that it's just lacking. It just has a blade if not mistaken, and a blade and some of those screwdriver, some of those I think it has a couple of flatheads and Phillips, and that's it. I don't think it has another main tool, and I think that's shame. This is just a price tagging strategy, and that's a minus. As for the Wingman and Sidekick, honestly, the first thing I wanted to buy was the Wingman, because in my opinion, or what I needed, was a blade. Combined blade is fine by me, and scissors, and I wanted and I wanted some screwdrivers. But then again, it actually comes to the point of your usability. For me, screwdrivers are important. The Wingman doesn't have this option. You'll always be stuck with the same ones, even though it's lighter than this one, and maybe more comfortable to use, and it has also a pocket clip, even though you can buy one for this one. For me, it just came to the point that I would like to invest into a tool that I can use it in every situation, and this means that I would like to have a tool where I can change the bits and to use them with what I want, and this was important, and that's why eventually I decided to get this one. I'm not saying that the tools are bad. I think they're okay. It's just that it's a usability, and from this point of view, this one wins, in my opinion. Nowadays, you can also get them off eBay, Amazon. They're not that expensive anymore. This one wasn't that expensive. I mean, the shipping actually made it quite significantly more expensive, but still cheaper than what you would pay from a retailer. And since the warranty is 25 years, doesn't matter where you get it from, so it doesn't really matter. And that's why I got the Leatherman Wave. As for the more expensive ones, well, it's up to you. The only thing I will maybe mention is the difference between the Sidekick and the Wingman. So the Sidekick is different because it doesn't have the scissors that the Wingman has. It actually has instead, I think, a saw, but I don't remember now 100%, but it has a different set of tools, a bit different set of tools. When the Wingman also has a package opener, which for me, I don't really get the point of it, but if somebody needs that, so of course it's useful. I don't see a point in a package opener if you have a selection of blades. And as for the rebar, so the rebar is also really nicely made. Also has the locking mechanism. But what I don't like about it is that when you want to access the tools, you have to open immediately all of it, the whole tool, to get out the tools. And again, it doesn't have changeable bits. On the other hand, if you're using the pliers a lot, so then you can swap I guess you can call it not the teeth, but you can swap the plier. I call it tooth. Yeah, so you can swap it over there for the brakes, which is a bonus, but otherwise I don't think it's really comfortable to open it every time when you need to access some tool, or if you're able to do it just this way, yeah, and get it out and use it. I think it's much more useful than opening the whole thing. So that's it. If you want more information, or if I can tell you another thing about it, write it down in the comments. I hope it was useful, and I hope to see you in another video.